everything we're hearing certainly indicates that we may actually get lucky this week.
Yeah.
So, as you know, most of you know, I'm not an accountant or a lawyer or a guru or not selling currency. Just here to talk to you about business trusts. And most of us have heard about business trusts. We're just here to tell you why we think it's the superior way to go. I have on my notes here, they have a little update about Jim, but maybe we can have Jim say hello. Let me find him here.
Great to be on the call with you all, and appreciate you joining us for whatever time you have available. Carol and I are out here in the Seattle area, so we don't live very far apart, but we're on the phone back and forth frequently, and I'm pleased to say that my memory is coming back. Most of my facilities as well. My wife just came home from the hospital yesterday having foot surgery on her good foot, and thank goodness we have a very capable home care gal that's staying here with us through the day and night. Last night, probably one more night, and because I don't wear the nurse's costume very well, and I'm just barely one step removed from needing care myself. So.
Well, thanks, Jim. I'm sure everybody was glad to hear from you. A lot of people do ask about you.
Well, and thank you all for your care and interest, and for joining us this morning. We'll share with you what we can and are able, what we feel makes sense to know about. And this next week looks good to us indeed. We're going to have something very, very happy to report this time next week. Right, Carol?
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. All right, let's get on with our program now. So as you know, my name is Carol Werelius, and I'm here with my friend Judy to talk to you about business trust today. And, you know, while there's lots of people selling trusts and LLCs and other things as a way to protect your assets, we feel the business trust is a superior vehicle for doing that, as it offers more anonymity, privacy, flexibility, and control than anything else we've seen. I've been in the trust business since 1992. My friend and mentor, Jim, who you just spoke with, has been involved with business trust since the middle 80s. And while our business trust is a common law instrument, it was written by an attorney in Jim's office during that time. So, good afternoon, my dear Judy. How are you ready to do? Excuse me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Carol, and thank you for having me join you. I love being with you, so I'm all ready when you are.
Okay, let's go. Hit it.
Okay. So, Carol, from what you just said, the business trust is not new. What is the history of the business trust?
Well, when the earliest pilgrims and immigrants came to the American colonies, they brought with them many of the commonplace ways of doing business from the British Commonwealth countries, where king's rule had prevailed going back even to the Crusades. Trusts were used to keep property in the family rather than reverting back to the crown. And once here for many decades, they were called Massachusetts business trusts due to their commonplace uses in Massachusetts at the time, right? About 1870, something like that. A lot of businessmen found it is the perfect vehicle to own property in the business, not personally. And corporations were few and far between in those days.
In those days, yeah, exactly. So, Carol, why do I need one?
Well, owning anything in your own name and Social Security number leaves your assets exposed. Suppose, and this is a stretch, but think about this. Suppose after you exchange your currency, you're so excited you have a heart attack or stroke and die. Okay, all that money then becomes probate fodder, open to estate and inheritance taxes. The assets can be tied up in court for years, and your family may not see any of it for a long, long time, if ever. You know, another scenario, you're in an automobile accident and some hungry attorney sees you as the meal ticket, which you could possibly be.
Right.
On the other hand, if you exchange into a properly crafted trust and then have that accident or heart attack on the way home, the assets remain in the trust with no probate or inheritance taxes. It will be managed by the successor trustees that you previously named.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense to me. So, why is a business trust so superior?
Well, most trusts are statutory, meaning they get their right to be, their privilege and their power from statutory laws enabled by local legislatures. The contract business trust that we employ is a creature of common law. It gets its power and benefit from the U.S. Constitution, which is a common law document itself.
Okay. So you're mentioning business trust because it offers anonymity, privacy, flexibility, from what I'm hearing you say, and control. So how is that we have all of that?
Well, most other business entities require recordation. You get permission from the state for an LLC, your corporation, or even some trust, and they require that you file and record it and pay an annual fee. Most states require recordation of the business trust only if the trust is actively involved in commerce, such as mine. Indicator information is a trust. I'm registered with the state. This guarantees your privacy, and you don't have any annual recording fees because you get this trust from me, and you take it, you put it home, you put it in your safe, and you're done. Nobody knows about it, so there's your privacy.
Okay.
And the business trust contract also allows you to be the trustee of your own trust. As I said, you have control. So you retain full management, control, and benefit of the assets of the trust. And to put it simply, there is no one between you and your money. And the business trust is a living document. It's born in contemplation of life, not of death. It is irrevocable, and you can easily document your actions by writing down minutes. And some people say, well, how do I do? I don't know what to do. The trust comes with easy-to-follow instructions so that you can manage it yourself. You do not need me to do it for you.
Okay.
Book 4, which is on a PDF disk you receive with your trust, is titled How to Operate. And it's full of important information on what and why you should do to properly operate your trust. And our website is finally up and running, although we're still fine-tuning it. It has all the resources you need to operate your trust. It is a members-only site open to our clients, period.
Wow, awesome. That's awesome news.
Yeah, it's all of our clients are invited to join. However, you have to email me for the invite code. It's a one-time invite code, then you're going to be set up with a username and password, and you can go into it as often as you want.
So it's a learning tool.
Yes, it is. And there's all kinds of sample minutes on there.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, that's awesome.
My webmaster's been putting a lot of hours into it.
Oh, that's great, Carol. Well, on behalf of everybody on the call, please tell him thank you.
I will. I will.
So, Carol, you just mentioned that I can be a trustee. So how does that work?
Well, the business trust is actually a contract. And as such, it requires a third person, whom we call the creator, to initiate the trust. You exchange your assets, in this case your currency, with the creator, who then puts them into the trust. Now, meanwhile, folks, this is all on paper. You're exchanging the title to your assets. You don't meet with this person and give them all your currency so they can put it in the trust. It's just a paper chase. He or she is charged with then appointing a suitable adult person to be the trustee. And while the creator can appoint anyone of his or her choosing, we feel that if you were smart enough to amass these assets to begin with, you would be the most logical choice to continue to manage them. Wouldn't you agree, Judy?
Yes, I was thinking exactly the same thing. I would be, in my case, I would absolutely, at this particular juncture, I would be the ideal person to manage it.
And I think most of us would agree, yeah.
Right.
So after appointing the first trustee, the creator exits the contract with no further authority, responsibility, or liability over the trust.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people ask me, well, does the creator have to know what I have or what I'm doing? Well, not necessarily. Because you don't have to physically bring them your currency. The creator has to sign some pages. You tell them what to do. You're going to go through this little exchange. He or she is going to give you $21 and 100 trust certificate units. That evidences the exchange. And after that, they're gone.
Okay.
See around. That they're totally out of the contract. So at the creation of the business trust, you irrevocably exchange your assets, in this case your currency, into the trust. You no longer own them. But as trustee, you have complete autonomy in managing them. You don't own the assets, so no one can take them from you, which is a very important consideration these days.
So when you say you have complete autonomy in managing them, you're saying that's how we have complete control.
Absolutely.
Okay. Can I be the only trustee?
Yes. A single person can be the only trustee. Typically, in the case of a couple, the first trustee appoints his or her spouse as second trustee. Sometimes a single person, particularly if they're a little older, feel they might need a little help, so you can appoint an adult child to be a trustee with you should you feel you need their assistance.
Okay.
Also, a lot of folks now are planning trusts for their children after this RV occurs. Okay, so their kids may be in their 20s or even 30s, but they're not aware of what's going on. And, Daddy's not all of a sudden going to present them with $1 million and say, have at it, kid.
Right. Exactly.
So we're setting up these trusts with the father or the parents being trustee along with the kid. And when the parents feel that the child is mature enough and able to handle this trust on their own, the parent then resigns, leaving the kid to manage the trust by themselves.
And the parent could be out of the trust, but it could be on the side guidance still.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Right. So I know this is going to sound a little silly, but I just want to say it anyway. If I no longer own the assets, who does?
Well, the business trust itself owns the assets in fee simple, meaning that
okay.
the title.
Okay. So when we transfer them or exchange the currency into the trust, then that's how the trust owns that money.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. I get it now.
Yeah. So, as I said, they own the assets in fee simple, meaning that the whole title, both legal and equitable, to the entire trust estate should be vested in the trustees. That means simply that the property that was once yours is now protected from personal liabilities, probate, and estate taxes.
Okay, great. I think you said this already in the beginning, but is this trust revocable or irrevocable?
It is an irrevocable trust.
Okay.
And irrevocable means the terms of the trust cannot be changed, and no one can force you to revoke the trust to pay someone else. It effectively gives you an empty pockets persona. The most significant distinctions between revocable and irrevocable trusts are the estate tax considerations. Property that you place in an irrevocable trust is no longer considered part of your estate, meaning that the property typically isn't included in your estate's value when it comes to determining if you owe death taxes, and if so, how much. It also avoids probate issues.
Okay.
A revocable trust, on the other hand, can be changed or terminated at any time. Because of this, the IRS may invoke the clawback provision, putting your assets back in your estate where they can be added to your personal estate, which is a very important tax consideration.
Oh, my goodness, yes, it is. It'll be interesting to see how all this plays out with the new tax laws.
It will, yes, I agree.
It'll be very interesting. So, Carol, when does the trust terminate at our death?
This is one really good thing, another really nice thing about this trust. The trust has a limited life of 25 years, and it can be renewed every 25 years. Once you die,
goodness.
Yeah, the next question is, what does happen to the trust when I die?
Right.
So, as I mentioned, the trust is created in contemplation of life, not death.
Correct.
When you prepare your trust, we ask that you name at least one successor trustee, someone who will take over the management of the trust upon your death or incapacity. And, a lot of people have done that and called me a year later and said, Carol, I appointed my niece, but my niece just moved to Germany. That's not going to do me much good. So you can change the successor trustee at any time for any reason.
Okay, just by doing a minute, I mean.
Yeah, well, a minute, reflects you had a meeting of sorts, right?
Right. Have a meeting that you take the minutes and put them in your trust binder.
And you can also add a bloodline or spendthrift clause if you desire. And what that means is that you want it always to stay in your family. So you can have your daughter be a successor trustee, and she can have her kids be successor trustees, but not her husband. You may love and adore your son-in-law,
right.
But that doesn't mean that they might not get divorced 10 years from now, or she might die before he does. So this way you always keep it in your family. And the spendthrift trust just stops the possibility of anybody trying to hypothecate whatever they think they might be getting.
Right, I understand.
So let's say your granddaughter has just been offered something, an investment opportunity, whatever. She says, well, I know I've got money coming from Grandma's trust, so I'm going to pledge $10,000 to this. And she can't do that. She can't do it, period. She'll never get the money out of the trust.
Never get the money out of the trust. That's awesome. Right, awesome. Now, if it's okay with you, I want to take that one step further. Let's play that out. Use me as an example. I have a grandchild who's very responsible as my successor trustee. I pass, and she and her husband divorced, but there's no animosity. Can she change the trust to give him money?
To give him money?
Yeah, to include him in it.
She can name
bloodline. It's bloodline, so she can't do that.
No, if you have the bloodline clause in there, she can't do that.
Okay, I'm kind of thinking out loud. So thank you for answering.
You made that specific request to begin with.
Okay, got it. Awesome. Do I operate a business with the business trust?
No, the business of the business trust is estate planning. It's pretty simple. So we're setting these up in contemplation of all of us being able to exchange our currency and making some money. And we don't, as I said, we don't want to take any of that money in our own name because it leaves it wide open.
Okay.
So setting this all up in a business trust ahead of time is just very, very good estate planning.
Okay, great.
So
if once we have all of our funds in place in our trust and one of us wants to start a business, would they put it in a trust or would they put it in another entity? They wouldn't put it in their trust, it doesn't sound like.
Well, they would not put anything into this trust.
I understand that.
Yeah. Jim and I used to like to call this initial trust the mother loan trust.
Right, yeah, I understand.
That's where all of everything is. If someone chooses to go into a business, they can use another trust, yes. Or they can do an LLC.
Yeah, okay.
And either the business trust the new trust that they create or the LLC can be funded by the mother loan trust.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
So what do you say we take a little break?
I think that's a good idea because we'll have some questions.
Yeah. *6 to raise your hand, please. And I hear somebody might be trying.
This is Jim.
Hi, Jim. You're off. Hold on.
For any of you who do not understand completely and fully and are comfortable with the difference between a business trust and any other kind of trust, let me suggest that you just contemplate the following. And I've used this over the years to help people pass this first stumbling block because there's so much misinformation out there in the public domain about what a trust can do and what it can't, its limitations, and so on. And then here come people like me and Carol saying all these wonderful things about a business trust, and they are very much different than most other kinds of information that you may have heard. So let me just throw this out there for you to contemplate. If you haven't already done so, maybe a good place to start would be your local library. If it's a big one, a good-sized one, like a county library, you can look in the T, it's in Tom, section of the law books and read all about the different kinds of statutory trusts over the years and what they have been able to do and not do with them. However, in those same law books, if you look in the B as in boys section, you'll learn about a whole different sections of law dealing with business trusts. And let me just assure you right from the start, if you haven't engaged in this exercise, and if you have any doubt about what we're talking about this morning, it's still here morning and on the West Coast, and that is this: the difference between a business trust and a statutory trust is the difference between night and day. Right, Carol?
Yes, absolutely.
A business trust is much older even than the U.S. Constitution, but it enjoys many advantages, particularly in this kind of an investment that we've all made in foreign currency and other kinds of investments. Also has limitations that are very much to our advantage, which is why Carol and I are talking about business trust this morning. And if you do not have a fairly good understanding of the difference between statutory trusts and a business trust, maybe this would be a good place for you to start. If you write these two different titles on a separate sheet of paper and then list the advantages and disadvantages of each, it'll probably, hopefully, get you started on a comparison of your own making as to why a business trust is much to your advantage in this kind of an investment. Right, Carol?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And if you have any questions, make note of them, and then if you aren't able to determine the answers to your own satisfaction, call Carol or me, particularly Carol, and we'll try and help you and guide you to the appropriate answer. Again, as Carol said at the beginning of the call, neither she nor I are attorneys, and we do not represent ourselves as such. We share information with people, and what they do with it, of course, is of their own making. But we will try our very best and utmost to guide you in your thinking so you can come up with the answer that is to your greatest advantage. That's the way I like to put it. And the reason that we are doing this is because we feel it's ideal, kind of a vehicle for this kind of an investment in the foreign currency. There are other situations where you might be just far better off to use a statutory trust, be it revocable or irrevocable or what have you, making it much simpler and easier to utilize than a business trust. So maybe that would be a good place for you to start. If you aren't able to answer that question, what is the difference between a business trust and a statutory trust, make that your beginning place. You should be able to answer some of the very basic questions to your own satisfaction before proceeding further, because this is an important undertaking. Right, Carol?
Absolutely. I mean, I doubt that any of us are going to be faced with any kind of opportunity like this again in our lifetimes.
Right.
So it's a paramount importance that we are prepared, folks, and we have a vehicle that we're comfortable with that we know will do the job for us. So
years ago, someone asked me this question, and I finally composed a paper that you're welcome to read. If you just write and ask for it, it's the difference between a business trust and a statutory trust. And it's quite lengthy, but it goes into great detail, covering from the very start what are the 4 different ways to transfer property. And, of course, we know we can give property away. You can assign it either through your will or prior to your passing. There are 2 other ways you can get rid of property or pass property. You should be able to answer all 4 of those methods as well. If you aren't able to do that right off the top of your head, maybe that's a good place to start as well. What are the 4 ways to transfer properties or ownership of properties? That's covered in that paper. I forget now just off the top of my head how many pages I composed in that answer, but it's lengthy, and it's fairly simple. It was composed for easy reading because, as I said, neither Carol nor I are attorneys, so it isn't in legalese per se. But we do know what we're talking about. Been engaged in this field of endeavor for many years, and I can promise you this, that it's very well worth your while to look into if you don't already have a business trust set up for this. Don't wait and act on this immediately, because we could be right on top of this within just a matter of a few days, and you want to be prepared as much as you're able beforehand, not after the fact. Back to you, Carol.
I totally agree, Jim. Thank you. So I don't see any hands raised right now, so I do have a few questions that I get by email that I thought I'd go into.
Okay.
Judy, go ahead.
Okay, so one of the email questions is, how do I get money out of my trust?
Well, and that's probably what I hear more than anything else. And there are several ways.
Yes, I do as well.
Yeah, pay yourself a salary.
Right.
You're no longer going to have a job, but you are going to have a job managing this money, believe me. And you can make that the amount, you take as much or as little as you choose. If you find that you cannot make it on $10,000 a month, give yourself a raise. And of course, this would be taxable income. And as trustee,
Carol, I have a suggestion on that question.
Go ahead, Jim.
If you could just amend the question and insert one word, how can I legally get money out of my trust?
Okay.
You want to make sure you're within the bounds of the law, both federal and state.
Absolutely.
All right, so add that one word. How can I legally get money out of my business trust? You want to make sure that whatever you do, you're not in violation of the terms of the contract that is initially written to protect and preserve the assets that you transfer into it by exchange. That's very important for you to realize. You can't just play with this as if it's just a Christmas toy, because it isn't. If you don't properly respect the terms and conditions of the contract of the business trust, how can you possibly expect others to do so either? For example, credit.
Excuse me. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jim. Oh, you went away. Jim, I'm sorry, you're back now. You should be back now.
For example, let me just throw this out for you to contemplate. Suppose that you are in a creditor's examination. Someone has sued you, and they want to know, and the court has ordered you to list all of your assets. Obviously, for reason that the court is going to decide whether those assets are exposed in a ordinary lawsuit or not. How would you answer that? If you had, let's say, $1 million or $10 million in a business trust after the RV, how are you going to deal with this and be within the confines of the law? Carol?
I'm sorry, Jim. I've just got a message on my cell phone.
Oh.
Go ahead, please. I got to answer.
Let me answer my own question. Since you don't own the assets in your business trust as a trustee, all you are is the caretaker manager. So you're not going to be breaking any law by failing to disclose the fact that you own the assets in your business trust, because you do not. In fact, you'd be far less wise, even downright foolish, if you did not, if you did list the fact that you own these assets in your business trust after the RV, because as a trustee, you do not own them.
Absolutely.
So unless you're totally comfortable with how to answer that kind of a question, then you need to do some more research, some more reading, some more question asking, phone calls, and so on. Do you follow? Right, Carol?
I think so. You really do have to be aware of what you have. You have a very, very powerful document and entity, and we give you a whole lot of legal backup to go with it. But as Jim says, you no longer own those assets, so that's how you can have this empty pockets persona. So in the meantime, Jim, we've got a few callers. So.
Good.
All right. Hi, Sandy. How are you?
This is Sandra from Texas. As Jim used to call me, the lady with the biggest family tree that he's ever done. So, Jim,
I know exactly who you are.
Hi, Sandy. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm so good to hear from you, too. So, my question is, number one, Jim did mine. I've had my several. We have, in our tree, we have probably 16 trusts that we purchased from Jim before Carol got involved. And at that time, Jim had us put $10 in. The creator put $10 in. Does that matter?
No.
I think you said earlier 21. I heard you say 21.
I use 21 because it puts it into a common law jurisdiction, but it's really not important.
Okay. All right. And the next one is that my daughter was the creator of mine, but I need to make her a trustee. Can I do that?
Absolutely. Once she has completed her duties as creator, don't forget she walks away from the contract.
Right.
She's just as eligible as anybody else.
That's good. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Sandy. Okay.
Any more questions? We would prefer questions from people who don't have that Texas twang.
Good morning, Dyke. You're up.
Hello. Thank you for taking the question, and thank you so much for.
You're welcome. Can you speak up a little bit, please?
Oh, how about that?
That's better. Thank you.
Yeah. So, my question is it necessary, important to go ahead and put the currency, the different foreign currencies in the trust before the RV, and if so, why?
Well, when we created the trust, don't forget, you do the exchange with the creator, and the creator takes title to your assets, in this case the currency, and puts it into the trust. So by the time you and the creator signed everything and had it notarized, your assets are in the trust.
Okay.
You'll have both a Schedule A and a Schedule B listing of those assets. Schedule A, if you should choose to use it, is for real property. We don't recommend that you mix the two together. Schedule B is for personal property. So let me throw the question back to you, sir. Which of those schedules do you think your dinar is going to fall into?
B.
Correct. Schedule B. And so all you have to do is to list the amount of currency that you are transferring by exchange into your business trust. Now, obviously, if you end up purchasing more or additional currency, that isn't going to be included, is it? Because your contract is already signed, sealed, and placed into effect at the time the trust was created, correct?
Right.
Follow?
Okay. So yes, and that makes it clear. So before I even get the creator to sign it and we get it all ratified and everything, that the assets have already been in it.
Yes, you're listing them on
Schedule. Yes, they're already listed.
Listing them on Schedule B. For example, let's say that you have 150 million dinar.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
And many of you have far more than that, I know, because I've talked with you. So just list that figure on Schedule B and draw a big X on Schedule A, on the page Schedule A. You would not want to list your house and put it in the same business trust as your Iraqi dinar.
Perfect.
Jim, just to avoid some confusion, I no longer include Schedule A at all. Schedule A is now where you put your currency.
All right. Good idea.
Yeah, that's good because I don't have a Schedule A or B, so.
Yeah, you do have a Schedule A and a Schedule B, but your currency is on the Schedule A.
Okay.
All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Carol.
And so let me make a statement about getting the money out as well. Okay, so the idea is to have all of, we'll use Jim's words, toys in a trust. So, for instance, if I had a boat, I would have that boat in its own trust, and I'll have another trust just to keep maintenance and things for the boat. So the money's not going into my personal account. So if I was on the boat and we were traveling across the ocean and a nasty shark came out and bit the propeller off, the maintenance would come out of the maintenance trust for that boat. It wouldn't come out of my salary that I'm giving
correct.
myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Interesting example that you've given there, because
yes,
how's the shark going to testify at the trial?
Yeah, there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
Right.
Good question, Dyke. Thank you. Anything else?
Oh, there is, but I'll email them to you. I'll let somebody else ask their question. Thank you guys so much again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. All right. Corey? Corey, are you there?
Hello,
Hi.
Hi, Carol. This is Will in Florida.
Hi, Willie.
I'm glad to hear Jim's voice for a long time. Then he talked to James. Thank you, Jim, is getting well. Get back.
Thank you.
My first question, I got quick question. What is the best way to exchange the currency? Is it on your own name or on the trust for taxable purpose?
Did you understand that, Carol? I didn't.
Not all of it, but Willie, nobody really knows the taxability at this point. Some say yes, some say no. And I do have that covered in a question coming up, so if you can hold on to that thought, we can maybe answer it, okay?
Okay, that's okay. The second one, I just heard you have a website for us. So how to log into your website, to go to the website?
Yeah, you need to send me an email, and I will send you an invite code, okay?
Very good.
Okay?
I have to transfer funds from the trust to for example, from the model trust to
the mother load?
For model loan trust to investment trust or charitable trust, things like that.
I'm going to address that in a little bit also.
Okay, very good.
All right.
And
Thank you.
Please. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, area code 954. You're next.
Good morning, good afternoon. Nice to hear Jim's voice. I haven't been on in a long time. I do have a trust with you guys. And I just wanted to confirm also the email. So the email that I'm going to send is at info@indicator?
Yes, it is.
To get the invite? Okay. Yep. Also, with this thing, like it's going to be right upon us, once I do my exchange in the trust, how do I get money like right away? Do I need to put all in the trust, or I need to hold back some, or I want to make sure I follow in the guidelines, the legality of the trust?
Okay, I do have that prepared because people have asked me that question, so I will get to it in a few minutes, okay?
Okay. All right then. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One more. Okay, area code 928. Good morning, Sharon.
Yes, good morning. You mentioned adding a bloodline clause. Could you either give us a script or tell us how we would do that?
Yeah, I can just send you an email.
Okay.
It's real simple. I can just drop me an email and I'll send you the verbiage for it.
And I just realized if this money is transferred into my trust and I have currency that I was giving with gift letters, I had done it as a personal gift to so-and-so from me, but should I have been making the gift letters from the trust to so-and-so with, the notarized predated currency gift letter?
No, at the time you gifted it, you still owned it.
Well, that's what I was wondering.
I wouldn't worry about it, Sharon. I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let me just mention that after the exchange is completed and the RV has occurred, we're going to continue to have these kind of calls because I'm sure we're going to have many, many questions about what about this and what about that. So watch for these continuing business trust calls after the RV, right, Carol?
Yes, maybe not as frequent because I'm going to be really, really busy. But yes, we'll have calls. Absolutely. Absolutely. So maybe we should get back to what we were working on earlier, which was how do I get money out of the trust? How do I legally get money out of the trust? And as I said, you can pay yourself a trustee salary. But again, that would be taxable income. And as trustee, you can declare and pay yourself a distribution, which is similar to a shareholder dividend. However, again, it is taxable to you. If you're contemplating buying a new house or a car, any big-ticket item, you can borrow from the trust. So how about a 10-year renewable balloon now with 2% interest? You must make the interest payments or the IRS would consider it as a gift, and then it would be taxable. Another consideration for big-ticket items is simply fund another trust to own that new house or boat. Like Dyke was talking, a boat. Okay, so he has his mother-in-law trust is going to fund the boat trust. So then the boat trust buys the boat trust owns the boat, and he does not. So the initial exchange from one trust to another is not a taxable event. So you're not going through borrowing. You don't have to make payments. You don't have to have a promissory note. You're just funding another trust. Would you agree with that, Jim?
Yes, if you do it properly, particularly if you evidence whatever you're doing with paperwork, even if it stays within your business trust binder, which is what I would recommend you consider doing, so that you have a record of it. That way, if you should suddenly kick the bucket, whoever you've appointed as successor trustee or trustees, they have a record of what you've done and what your intentions are.
Absolutely. So, you're going to write a minute. If you choose to do something like this, you're going to write a minute in the mother-in-law trust saying that the mother-in-law trust has decided to fund boat trust with X amount of dollars.
Right.
And it's that way you've got a track record of it, as Jim said. And another way to get money out of the trust is, the trust can pay a lot of expenses for you. Just in managing this money, you're going to have office expenses, normal office expenses. You're going to have professional assistants, CPAs, and the like. You probably also have automobile expense. All those are write-offs. If you're planning a trip, make it a business trip, so you can write off most of the expenses. Likewise, maybe with a golf or tennis membership, you do have to expand your circle of potential business offers, right? So you can also pay for trust can pay for your insurance needs, but don't go overboard. If you decide you do want to take this business trip to the Caribbean, you're not going to let the trust pay for your souvenirs or your new wardrobe. Just make it reasonable. You're going to pick up some brochures, business cards, et cetera, make it look like a real business trip, and it really should be. But you can still bring your family and enjoy the time that you're not looking at property. So there's a lot of ways to get money out, and as Jim said, just make sure you do it legally, stay in the law, and you should be fine. It looks like we have one more question here. And it's 10:45, folks, and I'll go on as long as you want me to until we run out of something to talk about. Bill, are you there?
Yes, Carol, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I appreciate all the information that you guys are giving. It really is really good.
Thank you.
One question I have is on, the trustees, both me and my wife plan to be trustees, but, she has a son and I have a daughter, and we want to make them the successors. Now, hypothetically, let's just say if something happened to us, they would be the successor trustees, and what if we had a boat in one trust? Would we still need to do a will, per se, if they were arguing over that boat, on who's going to use it?
Well, one of the things that we offer as well is a triple play. And the triple play includes a pour over will, which states that anything that I still own in my own name pours over into my trust. However, now we're talking about a boat being in the boat trust. And you have named successor trustees for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think your best provision would be to, I don't know, can you help me with this, Jim? I'm fighting for the words here. How are they going to divide up the boat?
Well, good question. You can't saw the boat in half and still have a boat, you know.
Exactly.
if that's where you're headed with this, I can help you with that.
Okay.
Put away the saw. Put away the saw and use words that the successor trustees have to be in agreement with one another. Otherwise, what you could do is put what I would call a drop-dead provision, that if they can't agree on what to do with the boat or any other such kind of asset after you and your wife pass away and they become successor trustees, that the business trust is required to dispose of and sell the asset within so many days, let's say 3 months, 6 months. That puts the onus on them to agree, or they're just going to be out the boat and they'll have to divide up the money. You follow?
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, I like that idea. I was just wondering if that would require, I guess, a will. So if you do a drop-dead clause.
A will won't even enter the picture. You'd write this into the business trust minutes after you do your initial exchange, and just hold a Board of Trustees meeting and just simply state at such and such a time the Board of Trustees met and it was decided that, and then you'd spell out what was decided, and you and your wife would sign it as co-trustees and put those minutes in your business trust binder, and that would become bearing upon whoever you've appointed successor trustees. Okay?
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, good question.
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult to control from the grave. Let's face it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But there are things that you can put in your business trust by minute entry that will help successor trustees and provide a lot of headache and heartache after we're gone. Right, Carol?
Absolutely. It's the whole trust and all the minutes are a guideline for future generations.
Okay, and so the minutes would be kept in a minutes book, and would I have to notarize or do anything to make that a legal document?
It would be helpful if you had them notarized, but it isn't necessary. You could both sign it, have it witnessed, and if you really were worried about it, let's say it's of significant value. Let's say the family home or the family farm. What are you going to do after mom and dad kick the bucket? What would you like to see happen? You get to decide while you're still alive, and that's one of the main purposes of a business trust. What do you want to have happen? What would you like to see happen? And state that in your minute entry.
Okay.
Both you and your wife sign it as trustees and have it witnessed, notarized if you'd like. Make it binding upon successor trustees, and so forth. You get the idea?
Yes, I got you.
All right. Good question.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
you. Okay, we've got a couple more. Area code 954.
Yes, it's me again. Sorry about that. I'm tied up with the you do your exchange, and it's after 48 hours. You show that money is there. There's no hold up, and you want to get that money out right there and then. What's the legal way of when do you write that into the trust that you took a a salary or what have you, how soon you have to have that in the trust note.
Okay, so let's say you exchange on Thursday, and you go home and you write a minute in your trust. You decided to pay yourself a trustee salary of $10,000, and you write a check for $10,000.
Oh, that's simple. Okay. Okay, and wow.
Yeah.
Yes, it's just a different way of thinking because it's always you. Now you're managing something. It's not you. You're managing. You know.
Exactly.
My question is on with the trust, when you're going to have to do another trust for like a big ticket item or what have you. What is that trust going to be called? Is it going to be like a foundation, or what is it called?
It's a secondary trust. It could be a real estate trust. It could be any. We have charitable trusts, real estate trust, vehicle trust.
The charity, okay.
Whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Okay, right, wow. Okay, I have a whole lot to learn.
All right, thank you. We've got another one here.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And you can always, if you can't come up with a name, you can put a Jim Jenkins Trust or a Carol Werelius Trust.
There you go.
That is so sympathetic.
Right, Carol?
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right. You're welcome.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay, area code 928. Is that you again, Sharon?
Well, you just answered it, I believe. It's so basic. You feel foolish asking it, but this was my cousin's question last night. She says, well, Sharon, does the trust have a checkbook? Just how do I get the money out? That's what I wanted to know.
Yes. The trust has a checkbook and a debit card.
The trust has a checking account. When you open up a checking account, they're going to give you a checkbook, right?
Okay.
So you're not going to stand there and say, you're not going to stand there at the bank and say, what is this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's so good to hear your voice sounding so good and strong, Jim.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You've been on my back, the back burner of a lot of energy work on your behalf and Carol's with the flu, but it's sure good to hear you sounded good.
Well, thank you. I've missed being on these calls and talking to so many of you. Let me just throw this out while we're on this point, and I don't say this lightly. And I want you all to know that I'm not dislocating my shoulder by patting myself on the back when I say it. Folks, we have over 1,000 of you on our client list having set up business trusts for you. Now, that may be only a drop in the bucket to all the people that are out there, because some have, taken other steps and gone down other pathways. But you folks are on the best that we know of. Right, Carol?
Absolutely.
And we're going to try. We're going to try and be here to help you the best we can. We have some excellent legal minds that we haven't even talked about. I, for one, have a CPA firm in upstate New York that he's just as anxious as we all are to have this happen, and he's merged his firm with 2 other law firms, and I know that he'd be more than happy to help any of you that have questions after the RV, all right?
That's great.
So this isn't just something that Carol and I cooked up, over lunch one day and said, why don't we go into the trust business?
Absolutely.
We spent a lot of time. I have a whole file cabinet full of cases and resources and all kinds of backup to support what we're talking about. So please know that we have a very strong background to support what we're saying, and even though we're not attorneys, and we make that well known. We can't represent anyone in a court of law, but we can guide you and help you get a good start on what's going to happen here, and shortly, we hope.
Yes, let's hope it is very shortly. Looks like we have another question. Thank you, Sharon.
Well, may I ask just one non-related? If anyone knows how to get to Okie, nobody's heard, is he okay?
Okie is okay.
Well, if you ever talk to him, tell us there's so many of us. In fact, that's the reason I am here. He once mentioned a trust, and because of Okie, I'm talking to you. And my friends have asked me, and I said, I don't know how to tell him. We still think of him, pray for him. So please share the message. Tell him thank you.
I will certainly do so, and thank you. In fact, I need to give him a call and knock on his door and say hello to him as well. So now I have added reasons. These have not been some of the happiest times in Okie's life. He was near death's door several times, and it was just closed. So thank goodness he's still around, and we can talk with him. And I have one of my best contacts is in frequent exchange with him, and I will let him know that we're thinking of him and thanking him for his help, because he's been of a lot of help to many of us. Okay.
Thank you, Jim and Carol.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
All right. We have a couple more here, Jim.
Yeah.
Dyke, you're back.
Hello.
Dyke, yeah.
Hey, thank you for answering before. And I'm just thinking more about that boat floating around, and I was wondering if that boat hit another boat and sunk the boat. And, I mean, I would normally have insurance on that boat. Would that put that in my trust? I mean, I've got two trusts for this boat, the one that I purchased it with and the one that I keep maintenance for it and everything. And I wouldn't be liable, right? I just wanted to clarify. I was just thinking about my boat.
Yeah,
if you have property transferred by exchange, the asset that you're talking about, into a business trust, as we talked about earlier, I'd certainly make sure it's not the same business trust as your currency is in. There's no reason to complicate the picture.
Right.
And it might be well if you called back later and talked with us directly about this question, but it's a good one. Okay? Well,
okay.
What about the house you live in? Let's say you have $1 million house and you don't want to see that tied up in probate or inheritance taxes and what have you. Maybe you want to put your house in a separate business trust, right, Carol?
Absolutely. As I said, everything should be as insulated and isolated as possible.
Right. So I had this house, and it's in a business trust, and somebody slips on the pool at the pool and gets hurt, and if they go after me, they'll have to go after the business trust.
They'll have to go after the trust, exactly.
Right. Folks, I need to sign off. It's good to be with you even for just this hour, and look forward to being with you again. And soon, hopefully, we'll be talking about, wasn't this a great ride?
Yes. Well, thank you, Jim, for helping me out today. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay. Bev, how are you today? I haven't heard from you in a long time.
Hello. Carol, how are you?
I'm doing much better, thank you. How are you doing?
Not too bad, dear. Hanging in there. Just come out of the hospital, but we're doing all right.
Good.
I just have a sort of a far-off question to ask you. You know, I do have some personal bills prior to the trust, and it was just a question that I wondered, do the banks ever consider loaning you money against your foreign currency? In other words, instead of putting... No, you won't do that.
Well, certainly not right now because it's not worth anything.
No, I mean when it becomes of value, could you go in and ask them to hold that as collateral for a loan?
I have no idea.
That would
no idea.
Sort of nice that you don't have it in your own name, you know. And,
it's not going to be in your own name. It's going to be in your trust.
Right, but it's personal bills though.
I know. Okay, you know what? I'm going to answer that next. Actually.
Okay. I appreciate that, Carol. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Bev. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Judy, are you still there? Well, I guess Judy's, maybe she is. Hang on a second, folks. Oh, and Judy. Okay. Anyway, guys, you just got me. We have heard that this exchange will not be a taxable event. So how do I take advantage of this one-time tax break? Now, again, we have heard. I'm not saying it will or will not be. I don't know, but we have heard it will not be a taxable event. And I think most of us have issues that we need to address post-RV, like Bev was just talking about, whether it be outstanding debt, a new car, helping out friends. We don't want to pay taxes if we don't have to. So at this exchange, how about this scenario? And this is just a scenario, folks. Mr. Banker, I now have X million dollars. I would like you to put, and this is, I've just taken some numbers off the top of my head here. I'd like you to put $100,000 into my personal bank account. Here is my account number and wiring instructions. I would like to take $9,800 cash with me when I leave today, as well as a debit or a credit card attached to my personal account. I will, excuse me. Is the cold not really gone yet? I will need wires to be sent. I will need these wires to be sent, and here's a list of cashier's checks that I need. I will need a pass-through account for X amount of dollars. I'd like to put the balance of this money into an account at your bank for ABC Trust. Here is my paperwork, which is your abstract and EIN. And there you go. I mean, obviously this is very, very simplified, but I think you get the idea about the best way to handle something like that. Again, it answers Bev's question. How do I get money out ahead of time? Yes, we all have bills.
Carol, can you hear me, honey? I'm sorry. I've been trying to get into you because I never left, but I hung up and called back in.
We got you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
Anyway, I think you all get the idea. As I said, it's very simplified, but if it's not taxable, we should be able to take advantage of that. We all need money. Let's face it. If we didn't need money, we probably would never have bought foreign currency. So this is a way to get some money out ahead of time, not taxable, not accountable to your trust, because it's not in the trust yet. You just exchanged. You're sitting there in front of the banker. You've just exchanged. It's not anywhere yet. So that is my personal recommendation how to do this, and that's all it is. It's, as we've mentioned before, I'm not a lawyer, not an accountant. It's just my idea of a good way for that might be able to go. So, Judy, if you're there, we are on number 14, if you'd like to continue.
Awesome. So I know we've been talking about this throughout the call, but what if this is a taxable event, even though we've all been told it's not? What if it is?
Well, a long time ago, one of the so-called gurus suggested setting aside 50% in a separate bank account in the event it is taxed.
Right.
Not taxed in a year, you have a 50% bonus. So for myself and my husband, if I don't get an absolute guarantee from the bank in writing that this is not a taxable event, I'm going to open up a separate account and put 50% of it aside.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do too.
Yeah, it's better to be safe than sorry. If it's not, like I said, if it's not taxed in a year, you've got a 50% bonus. So yeah. I just think that's a safer way to go.
I think we're going to find out before then because there are so many of us, and it's not like the White House doesn't know we're sitting here waiting.
This is true.
Okay, great. So, and then in the same vein, what if it's taxed at a state level?
Well, we recommend domiciling your trust in a state that does not levy a state income tax, and I can assist you with that. If you live in Florida or Texas or Alaska or Washington or several other states, you're fine.
Okay.
And if you don't, we can set up a mailbox for you in any of those states or in Wyoming. So.
Oh, excellent. Okay. So, Carol, we're all online. We all listen to these dinar calls and all this, and we hear people talking about we need a package of 10 trusts. Do you think I need that many, or most people?
That's a really good question because, I feel very strongly, as I said, just about everything should be isolated and insulated. So I feel very strongly about having multiple trusts.
Right.
But I think 10 is probably overkill for most of us. I don't even anticipate needing 10. So
the younger people with bigger families is probably conceivable.
Yes. Now, and I don't know. I believe that's Trust Unlimited. I'm not sure. I know there's another guy named Jim selling trust. I am neither one of those. Right. Jim is Lotus Company, and I'm Indicator Information. but most of the time we just introduce ourselves by our own names. We do offer a custom multi-trust program utilizing secondary trust like I just talked about, real estate trust, vehicle trust, charitable trust. However you need me to set it up, that's what we'll set up.
Awesome.
And I know a lot of people are planning on buying a lot of cars, so they want all those additional vehicle trusts. So, whatever the case may be, we can make it work for you.
Awesome. Okay. And now this is kind of new, Carol. I've heard this now. I'm going to say 2 weeks, and I'm sure you have as well. But we're hearing that if we have a trust, like I have a trust, and I haven't used it, like I haven't written any checks out of it, if you will, that at the time we exchange, we will not be able to use it. Do you have any input on that?
Well, as you said, Judy, I've heard that too. And frankly, it does not even make sense to me. Your trust is valid for 25 years. You have a valid EIN. You're not required to complete a tax return if the trust did not earn at least $600. You write your annual minutes. At the end of the year, Board of Trustees has reported there was no business. It's, how can I put this, actively inactive.
Right.
So you are writing your minutes, you're taking care of everything you need to take care of.
Yeah, it's an excellent way to describe it. It's an excellent way to describe it. It's actively inactive.
Yeah. It makes no sense to me.
Okay, well that's excellent. I'm glad I asked you that. Okay. So we've heard that we need to take the entire trust for us to exchange. What do you make of that? Because I know you haven't said that. You've been teaching us that you do the EIN letter and the abstract, but some people are saying that you need to take the whole thing.
Well, today, all one is needed to open a bank account is the abstract of trust and the EIN letter.
Okay.
So that's what we're really talking about here. You go to your exchange, and they're saying, oh, you need to have a trust, you need to have a trust. Okay, well, you have proof that you have a trust. However, I still feel that just the abstract and EIN should be sufficient. It's probably a good idea to have the trust binder with you, maybe in a briefcase, but don't.
In the car, maybe.
Pardon me?
In the car, maybe.
Oh, well, no, because then you'd have to leave.
I see what you're saying.
It would make more sense to me to bring it in a briefcase. And don't forget, folks, you may have multiple trusts, but I don't think you're going to have the time at your initial exchange to fund more than one of them. So just do your mother load, go meet your wealth manager a day or two later, and then fund all those other trusts. So while I still feel it's sufficient to have just those things, bring the binder with you. Don't offer it unless it's requested. Just leave it in the briefcase. If they want it, you have it. Okay.
Okay. So I've also heard that we need a certification of trust and a resolution. What are they?
Well, as I just said, we provide an abstract of trust.
Right.
Which gives the bank all the pertinent information they require for opening an account. I believe California has a specific certification of trust, which is a recorded document, but it includes the same information as the abstract. California did this certification of trust initially for probate, and obviously we're not involved in probate here, but I looked at their certification of trust. It has the exact same information as my abstract does.
So the abstract is essentially the same as the certification?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Excellent.
And we've all heard, well, not all heard, but a lot of us have heard about bank resolutions. If you're going to open a corporate or business bank account, you need a resolution. A resolution gives you the authority to open and maintain bank accounts. Again, that information is part of the abstract.
Okay.
And also, for those of you that got your trust from me, not necessarily from Jim before I came around, but the ones from me, the last minute of your trust appoints you as executive trustee and conveys all that authority as well. If you do not have that minute, drop me an email and we'll get one prepared for you.
Okay, excellent. Carol, gosh, what a great call today. Wasn't it nice to have Jim with us? He's just
It was, yes.
I'm so happy to hear that he sounds so good. I know he was getting a little tired, God bless him, but it was delicious to have him with us.
Yeah, it was really, I did not expect that, so I'm really glad that he was able to join us.
So many people were happy to hear him. So I want to just ask you one more thing. What else do you offer for estate planning, Carol?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we have the triple play. And the triple play includes the pour over will, which, as I stated, says essentially everything that you own personally at the time of your death rolls it into whichever trust you named. Because you are going to have multiple trusts. You don't necessarily want it going into your mother-lode trust, but maybe the trust that you work out of all the time. We also have a durable power of attorney, because there's sometimes you just can't take care of business by yourself. Either you are physically unable and incapable of doing it for whatever reason, or let's say you're in Europe, or you're like Dyke, you're out in the middle of the ocean.
Right.
So there's a durable power of attorney giving somebody the legal authority to act on your behalf. And there's also a health care directive. Now, if any of you have been even to the doctor in the last couple of years, they're going to ask you if you have a health care directive. If you don't, they will provide one, only giving them the permission to treat you.
Right.
The health care directive that we provide is a series, it's 5 pages, I believe, but it's a series of questions and answers that you make choices of what you want to happen in a particular situation. Very, very important. And I've shown it to my doctor's office, and they were very impressed with it. And actually, Jim used this when he was in the hospital as well. So the cost for the triple play is $350 for a couple and $275 for a single. And the thing with the triple play, estate planning is not just taking care of the money.
Right, exactly.
It's taking care of other things as well. Having this kind of stuff in place gives your family, your friends, whoever you have chosen to take care of you, gives them some peace of mind. If something happens to you and, you're in the hospital, you're in a coma, whatever, at least somebody's going to say, oh, my God, I know what Mom wants. I know she's got a health care directive. Let me go see what she wants in this situation. It takes the burden of that decision-making off of those people.
Yeah.
It's very, very important to consider.
I surely could have used one, or glad I didn't, but boy, did I think about it 2 weeks ago when I fell. Mother of God, I was terrified, absolutely terrified. What if I had fainted and died all by myself?
Yeah.
So I thought about it, Carol. I thought about it. I have a will, but it's outdated, and anyway.
We'll have to get you the triple play.
We need to do that. You're absolutely right. All right, my friend. Well, my goodness, it's up to you, doll. You get the last words.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your help today, Judy.
Oh, my God, it's always my pleasure. I love helping you.
Good, and you sound good. You do sound
good.
Oh,
thank you.
And Jim, if you go back and listen to this, thank you for your assistance today. I really appreciate it.
Exactly.
But that does about wrap it up for today.
Okay.
And, like many of you, I've heard that we must have a trust when we exchange, so I urge you to be prepared. Typical turnaround time is less than a week, but I expect that to be considerably longer post-RV. Our business trusts are very reasonable, only $14.95 for new clients and $11.95 for additional trust or family members. And we also offer a 20% referral fee for any fully paid new trust. Before I sign off totally, I see another question here.
Oh, great. We love our questions, don't we?
Yes. Walda.
Hello, Carol. How are you?
I'm well, dear. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Jim, how are you doing? Good to hear you.
He's already off the line, Valda. He's off the line.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was trying to get in a little bit earlier, and I just couldn't. But anyway, a quick question about things that you have in the trust. When the trust was created, after the trust was created, if you added something else, like, we're in the currency, if we added some more currency to the trust, how do we treat that?
No, you probably don't have one, but we have some sample minutes, and you simply write a minute. At the end of the year meeting, the trustees noted that the trustees purchased additional currency on behalf of the trust, or
Oh, okay.
Write it in March. You know, in a meeting of the Board of Trustees, it was noted that the trustees purchased additional dinar, dong, zim, whatever on behalf of the trust. Very simple.
Oh, okay.
And
so
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Oh, so yeah, those can be handwritten or typed, right?
Yep. Just wait a minute. And if you want to, just send me an email and I'll send you some sample minutes, and that's in there.
Oh, okay. All right. So I think I'll do that. It would be nice to get something like that.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
You too. Bye now. And you know that brings up a question. Although Jim and I rarely disagree about trusts, I do not necessarily subscribe to his direction that you write down the amounts of your dinar or your any of your currency. I would actually wait until you're ready to go to the bank, because that's the way you know you're not going to add anything that you bought after the trust was created.
Right.
But let's say you decide, okay, you got your trust, you haven't purchased any currency since then, and you decide, okay, I want to pull some out. I want to cash in this $50,000 before I even put it in the trust. My personal belief and opinion, that's why I have blank lines there. Put in the amount before you go to the bank, unless you're set up in your mind. Okay, I'm going to exchange this amount, this amount, this amount. Then you can write it in. But I would not necessarily make that decision beforehand. That's just my personal opinion.
Personal opinion, okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, it looks like we don't have any more questions. We ran a little bit over again today, which to me is a good thing.
I love it.
Again, thank you, Judy. I do appreciate it. And thank you all for your attendance and your attention.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes. We look forward to
a great green beer day. I'm not going to have green beer. I want to have some champagne, but I don't like it to be green, so I'll have a green grape.
There you go. Anyway, again, this is Carol Werelius. My telephone number is 425-820-8090. My email is info, I-N-F-O, @indicator, INDICATOR, information.com. Thanks again, folks. Hopefully we're going to be at the bank next week. If not, we'll talk to you in 2. Take care.
All right, Carol. Have a great weekend. Say hi to Jay.
I will. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.